Welcome to this special bonus episode of the Passive House podcast. I'm Zach Semke, Director of Passive House Accelerator, and we're happy to be sharing a series of bonus episodes recorded in Hamilton, Ontario at the Passive House Canada Conference 2023. These interviews were conducted by Mary James, our Director of Publications, and Michael Ingui, our founder. A big thank you to Euroline Windows for underwriting this special series. Please enjoy.
So welcome to the Passive House Accelerator podcast. Mahnaz Nikbakht from ROCKWOOL. Your title there is?
I'm the Architectural Specifications Manager for Eastern Canada for ROCKWOOL. That's just one of my two hats.
And your other hat is?
I'm the chair of Bâtiment Passif Québec. So that is the Passive House Association of Quebec.
And it's very exciting to hear about that. And we'll talk about that in a little bit. I know it's been ongoing effort to get the Passive House materials translated into French.
Yes. So that is the goal that you're facing all the time when you want to bring something new to Quebec. If it's not coming from Quebec and you need to translate it, we have to go through that process. So the association itself is trying to provide information in French. We do collaborate with Passive House Canada, actually, for our training. So far, we've done 2 or 3 training sessions. So training to become a certified Passive House designer with Passive House Canada. And so we will offer that course in French with Evelyne Bouchard, as well as Philippe Saint-Jean being the French language instructors of that course. And so that is really helping us. And the other efforts we're doing we're trying to build a proper Passive House community. So we've had a first very unofficial, in French we call it 5 à 7, which is like an after-work event or a social in December. And we had the first proper one just about 2 weeks ago at one of our corporate members' office, PSB Construction. And so we actually managed to get a whole crowd of either people interested or professionals interested in Passive House to come and join us there.
About how many people came?
We're about 25 people. So for a first official one, I was very happy with that outcome. And so we just did a little presentation on who's the association and the few members of our board who were there. And PSB actually got to present the project they're working on, which is called Nora Hem, which is in the Laurentians, and that's going to be a low E building standard house.
For people who aren't familiar with it, that's the low energy building standard that PHI has developed.
Yes.
And often it's applied to retrofits.
Yeah, so the low E requirements are, I think, 30 kilowatt hours per square meter per year and air tightness of 1. And I think that's actually similar to EnerFit, to the energy retrofit certification of Passive House.
Has the insulation type been identified for that project?
Well, that project is... I don't think there was any of our material involved in that project. They're working on another one, which is going to be using comfort board and maybe also comfort bat. No, comfort bat, maybe also comfort board. That is also in the Laurentians. For that project, yeah.
And for those who don't know the climate type in the Laurentians, how would it differ from, say, building in Montreal?
I don't think there is a big difference. It is definitely colder and more snow, but I'm not sure it actually gets classified differently. We are in cold climate.
Backing up to your other hat, ROCKWOOL, you mentioned Comfo Bats and Comfo Board. Can you just briefly describe the difference between the two?
Yeah, we're seeing a lot of application of the Comfort Board product in Passive House buildings because it's a relatively easy way to create a continuous installation around your building. It's a rigid board which comes in 2 different densities. It's called Comfort Board 80 or Comfort Board 110 with our values of either 4.2 or 4. And these are rigid boards that you install on the outside of your building, and you just basically screw through it to attach your furring strips. Or for a more commercial project or finish, you'll be using metal hat channels installed vertically. And your thermal bridge will be the screw that goes through it. So that's helping definitely for the energy performance. And then we have worked with RDH they developed for us design tables that will help you determine what screw number, like what type of screw you need to use, and what vertical distancing you need. So in order to create the pattern for your structural performance of that facade. The other product we use on the outside of buildings is cavity rock, which is a double density product starting at 2.5 inches. So that's quite unique. And it's a product that has a more rigid, more dense outer layer and a softer inner layer. So that gives you a nice, rigid, protective surface on the outside. And it gives you a little bit of flexibility on the side of the building so that it forms easier around screws or attachment systems, so you have less air pockets, or you don't need to cut into your insulation to accommodate it. It gives you a little bit of a buffer. And so this is the product that you would install whenever you have a structurally independent cladding attachment system, say a Zengert, which we're not going to do anymore really because they're energy inefficient, or if you were using a clip system, then you install the cavity rock basically just in the cavity that you've created. It's just taking the role of insulation. It's not part of the attachment system. So those are the two products for the outside: comfort board, rigid board, or cavity rock semi-rigid board. And then obviously on the inside, and you'll find that much more often in residential structures, you'll use the comfort bat, the bat insulation product, which goes in between studs, and you just fit it in between the studs and it takes its space and it doesn't move anymore.
So I understand that ROCKWOOL has been publishing a sustainable development guide.
Sort of, well, it's called the Sustainability Report. Yes, exactly. This has been published over the last couple of years regularly. We just published it in February, I think, the Sustainability Report 2022. It's really an interesting document because it documents what we're doing. ROCKWOOL has adopted 10 or 11 of the UN Sustainable Development Goals. So there are 17 goals that have been determined by the United Nations on what we need to focus on for sustainable development. And we've taken this information and these categories and looked at what ROCKWOOL can do. So we've determined these 10 categories where we can either work on the operational side, simple things like, simple, you need to do it, but simple things like reducing water consumption or reducing waste, or with regards to our melting technologies, finding technologies that are less energy intensive. So what can we do on the operational side during the production of our materials to have a positive impact? And then we're also looking at these sustainable development goals with regards to what our products bring, what they can, what benefits they have for the world or for buildings, for the different applications. So whether it's using materials to insulate better, so it has a positive impact there, or it could be on the side of Grodan, which is a separate brand and business for growing media. So those are the two sides that we're working on with these United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, and they are audited. So we have these targets that are science-based, and we get audited. So we're not just talking about, we've adopted these goals and we don't do anything about it, but we actually have a report every year where you can see what was our goal and did we achieve it or not, or how far did we get.
And where would somebody find that if they wanted to read it?
Go to www.rockwool.com. If you can't find it straight away on the first page, you use the little loop,
Search.
the search button, and just put sustainability report. Or you could actually scan the ad here. And you can download it. It's a PDF that you can download. That information is all available.
So we're here at the Passif House Canada conference, and ROCKWOOL is a familiar product to a lot of people in the Passif House community. When people come to talk with you at your booth here, what kind of questions do you usually field?
Oh, many. Oftentimes it's going to be the specific project and what solution we have to it, and that's always fun to be able to help someone on a specific issue. The other one that obviously we'll get is whether we have an EPD, what is our carbon footprint, what is the embodied carbon of our material, and we do actually have product-specific EPDs. Right now we have 4 locations where we have plants, production plants. We have 2 production lines in the Milton plant. We have another one in the West in Grand Forks, and we have 2 in the US in West Virginia and in Mississippi. And so far we've incorporated 3 of our 4 plants because we just got the new plant in 2021, right? Which is why we don't have bad lead times anymore. We have product.
Wait, which location is
the newest one is the West Virginia one in Ranson, West Virginia. And since we have that, our clients can lean back and relax because product is available again. So during the pandemic, we were so sold out, and definitely not because we weren't producing it. There was a great demand, and everybody suffered from that. Because when you expecting to get your product and you can't, it's hard. But we've that problem has been solved. We've added a new plant, so we're going to be incorporating the results from that plant soon. I don't know when exactly. So currently, our EPD is just incorporating data from 3 of our 4 plants. And so you will have like your reference product, and then you have factors that you apply depending on the product you're looking at.
And is there a building type that people are tending to talk to you about when you said, helping them with specific projects? Is it more multifamily, single family? What are you hearing?
Well, I think in the beginning, people, not only because of the name, but also because of the people that had the highest motivation, were just homeowners. Passif House started really with residences, with homes, people building or renovating their home. But now we see more and more really big projects. They can be mid-sized projects, they can be multi-residential units, they can be Passif House condo towers. I mean, left and right, you see Vancouver has incorporated Passif House so much already. If you go to New York, you can find loads of Passif House projects. Those are, 25-story buildings. So it can be anything, really. It depends on who's coming to speak to us, whether it's a homeowner, whether it's a mid-sized firm, or whether it's a huge firm that is doing really, really big projects. But in the end of the day, the term Passif House often gets confused with it being specific to homes. But if you look at where the word comes from, Passif House in German, it really relates more to a building, because you also say Krankenhaus, which means hospital, and you say Parkhaus, which means parking garage, and you say Rathaus, which is the city hall. So it's just like a part of a composite word that describes a building's function. So a Passif House is a building that is passive. So we're not really specifically looking at one or the other. You can make a passive house out of anything.
And a big advantage of ROCKWOOL is that it's helps with fire resistance. And I wonder if that's something that, I mean, I live in California, so of course it's a big issue.
It is.
Where I live. But I just wonder if you personally are experiencing questions about that.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, that's, I'd say, one of the key features of ROCKWOOL being a product that is non-combustible. But yeah, that's one of the things when we talk about the fire resistance, that's an important factor where people are interested in our product. And then a few minutes later, we're talking about EPD. And it tends to turn around a little bit about what is the trend word right now. And in a way, it's a bit sad because I think we need to look at the whole thing, the whole sustainability story, because you want it to be sustainable because it won't burn, but you also want it to be sustainable because you don't want it to be having a big carbon footprint. But I think we're sometimes tending to forget to look at all the different things that we want and evaluate all of those. Fire is just one of the aspects. It can give you great acoustic performance. It can give you many different features. But yeah, I think it's important to really look at what are you looking for your project, and then how can you, get the data on that. I just feel like right now EPD is like the buzzword, but it doesn't stop there, in my opinion.
And just stepping back a little bit, how long have you worked for ROCKWOOL, and how did you get interested in Passive House in the first place?
That's a good one. Yeah, I don't know. I'm half German, so I studied in Germany, and I've known Passive House kind of forever. So I've been working with ROCKWOOL now since about 2.5 years. I've been involved with Bâtiment Passif Québec since 2015 in different roles. It just makes sense. Why not make things better if you can, right? And I'm an engineer at heart. So yeah, I always have this drive to make things better, and it's so simple. You can explain it in 1 minute. You just look at the 5 key principles of Passive House and voila. Why complicate things? Let's first, improve what we got as much as possible, and then we can go and look at fancy solutions. But I just find that it makes a lot of sense. And then certainly in urban areas, I find it is very important because you're creating such a great environment, not only for air quality, but also for acoustics. You're really going to create a space that you feel comfortable in.
Returning to your hat with Bâtiment Passif Québec, how has the Passive House been accepted in Quebec, or is it still?
Yeah. It's very much in its infancy, one would say. Unfortunately, we have this great hydroelectric source. We pay nothing for energy, or the rates
Very
are
low.
in North America the lowest rates. And that makes people not care. And it seems like really you need to apply things by law for people to make a change. We all talk green, we all talk about sustainability, but in the end of the day, nobody does anything. I've been preaching the Passive House mantra forever, and at any event, I'm going to be the sold out conference or something. But people come, they think it's great, and then they don't do anything. So yeah, that definitely doesn't help when you have really cheap energy. But I think there are so many other features, such as the resiliency, that make it for, a province like Quebec that loves chalets, really relevant. You should have all your chalets built as a passive house, and you're going to be fine. We just went through an ice storm just before or after Easter. I was 3 days without electricity. Fortunately, it was not very cold, so it was okay. We just put on a few sweaters. But if it had been in the middle of the winter, it would have been really hard for a number of people. It's really sad to see that you cannot sell a logical thing. You need to sell it through a legislation or through big financial incentives. Although it makes absolute sense, there is no reason not to do it. We're all concerned about the earth, but we do need to, pull up the sleeves and start doing something. But I find there's more and more interest and people interacting and getting engaged and participating in our trainings and actually going all the way to getting certified. So we have a number of certified passive house designers in Quebec now, also in bigger firms, also in engineering firms. So that's really great. And
so you anticipate more growth coming?
Yes, we only have, I think now we have 2 certified houses. You see, I mean, that's how we are in infancy. We had the first certified passive house in 2017 or something. That was the Maison aux Allées. And I think it's Evelyne Bouchard who now has managed to get her house certified. So congratulations to her. But yeah, it's very slow. Although we're looking forward, there's going to be a city hall in the city of La Pêche near Ottawa to kind of locate it, which is going to be Passive House certified. So
that's exciting news.
Absolutely.
That's great.
Yeah. So there's another low E project coming. There are a few projects. We also have there's a prefabricated passive house development ongoing in Western Quebec. So there are a few things happening finally.
Development?
Yeah.
Do you know the size roughly?
It's small. It's maybe 8 or 10 houses, but I'm missing the information. I would actually have to check to tell you more about that.
Well, that's great news.
All right.
Thank you so much for stopping by on us.
Yes, my pleasure, Mary.